Are you ready to get your jimmies rustled? Then let's talk about red flags.
Ladies edition. Round two.
Round two.
Coming for you, ladies. Sorry.
Hey, man. Last
Sorry,
time
not sorry.
we went in on some stuff for items in common between men and women, and we gave the men a hard time last time. So we're equal opportunity critics here. So we're going to go ahead and make sure that the women get some direction and dudes get some direction as far as what to look out for, right?
Yeah. But again, this is if you're looking for a committed, trusting, long-term relationship, you know, the whole thing.
Yeah, this is for a long time, not necessarily just a good time.
So if it's not your jam, it's not your jam.
It's like a cafeteria approach. Hey, take what you want, leave the rest.
Yeah.
Not a big deal.
You go live your life.
Sure. All right, let's go ahead and start with the elephant in the room. Daddy issues.
Oh, God. You just, right
Hey,
there.
sometimes you just no lube it, you know, you just go for it. Sometimes that's just how it is. You apply the right pressure and just raw dog it. But anyhow, so daddy issues. Well, if she doesn't have a good relationship with her dad, that is often a red flag because usually it comes with other baggage, right? Mm-hmm. So I think things like, hey, what happened to her father? You know, did he leave the family for a reason? Why did he leave? Was mom an insufferable, crazy person? Or did he have
a dad?
I mean, he could have just left his responsibilities. It could have been a lot of things.
But for whatever reason, it will have its effect.
Yeah, usually there's a story.
But not necessarily, if there's no dad, this person will be a terrible,
No, it's not a blanket thing by any stretch.
Or have terrible judgment. Okay, so we'll start with the little caveat snowflake issue and be like, well, my dad isn't around because he can't be because he's not alive, which I know very distinctly. Actually, my parents separated when I was 5, and then they officially divorced by the time I was 8 or 9. And then actually, because my dad was kind of like, he thought he was 10 feet tall and bulletproof, could do no wrong in my mom's eyes, and then he messed up. He messed up bad.
Sure.
To the point where my mom didn't feel safe for us to be in the home together. So she took me and, we separated ourselves from that. And then, finally it was really cool, but it did start to happen a little bit. But unfortunately, he got cancer. And after an almost 4-year fight, he lost.
Sure.
And I was 16 when he lost.
There were a lot of things that your dad did that were wild, and there were a lot of reasons why your mom loved your dad.
But my mom was kind of when they were young, but after they decided they want to have kids and stuff like that, it was okay, well.
Sure. But I mean, it's almost like your mother had picked your father for those characteristics. Oh, yeah. She picked him because he was wild and exciting and did all the things.
But also he was that wistful, moody, he played guitar. Those emo goth drummers.
Sure.
But I wrote some poetry.
I think it's interesting to go ahead and not only take a look at whether or not the father's in the home, but if dad is still around, what's the relationship like, right? So say even if the parents are divorced and the woman has a relationship with her father, how does she treat her dad? And how does she treat men in general? Is there something where it is a symptom of other problems, right? Does she have a genuine distaste for men in general? That might be something to look into.
Is she so badly burned by the family dynamic / relationship with the dad? That is the thing to kind of look out for. On the other side of that kind of spectrum, is he really a dad trying to lead his family and have standards and stuff? So he vocally does not approve of what, the life choices that she is making, that his daughter is making. He doesn't want that, this life or this behavior for his daughter. And he's vocal about it. And then she's resentful. And she's balking authority. Even she's a grown woman. Like, you know, obviously she doesn't have to, but she should at least hear that and be able to respond with, I appreciate the feedback, but I'm going to go do what I need to do, at least. Or if she's like, just like eliminate, like, I'm going no contact, you're toxic, you're trying to rule my life, then that's a problem. That's what we're discussing. Like, if this person has a real disregard for anyone that cares about her, trying to like
Provide guidance
like
or direction.
A standard.
Sure.
Some kind of standard, especially with reasoning why, not just like, you know, you should be locked up in a tower until you're 30, or we should send you to a convent so you don't know that boys don't have cooties.
Okay.
You know?
Sure. But I think on the flip side of this, I think it's a really big and bright green flag if she does have a healthy, respectful relationship with her father, and that he's leading the home, and that he is setting up an example for her of what a husband should be. And I think if you see those things in the relationship between her and her father, chances are that's going to be a really good thing in future relationship time.
It's like there's a spectrum between parent behavior and child behavior where you can, you know, most people can reasonably gauge that and be like, this is a family dynamic. Do I really want to be committing to that? In some capacity, you are marrying that person, but you are also marrying that experience from their family of origin. And, you know, obviously, if they're still around, the family itself.
Sure. And like, there's something to be said about leave and cleave. But at the same time, there is so much reality to if they're around, they're going to be a part of your life.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, they can if you cut them off and things of that nature. But I think that's a pretty rare circumstance. And
also, if they're cutting them off, if there might not be a legitimate reason why. Like, you need to know the reason why they're, you know?
Well, right.
You need to know the details behind that, because otherwise, if you're just hearing the side of the story from her.
Mm-hmm. Well, we can go ahead and use an example from our life. My children never got the chance to meet their grandfather. Not your father, who passed away at 16, but my father.
He passed away 2 months after we met.
Sure. But my father wasn't doing what he was supposed to be doing in life, and it was not an influence that I wanted around my children. So it was my choice for him to never have seen our children, his grandchildren, because I did not want that in their lives. The man was not prepared.
No.
He had led his life in such a way that it disqualified him from having a solid relationship with his grandchildren.
Well, also, I kind of want to touch on, it didn't begin like that.
No, it didn't.
We talk a lot about this whole process so you can do the vetting ahead of time to avoid problems later. So it's kind of interesting to take the scenic route a little bit and go, I think your mom did her due diligence to really vet well, and it started off pretty good.
I'm going to disagree with that a little bit.
I didn't hear enough about it because it was kind of a touchy subject, especially in the beginning.
Well, I mean, my dad had a lot of things going for him like your father did. He was kind of wild. He had the, like, American footballer look, and he, you know, had his Letterman jacket and all the things just in a different context. But he had done all kinds of crazy stuff that she should have seen as red flags along the way.
Oh, okay.
And don't get me wrong, I'm thankful that they found each other because, hey, I exist and then we have a wonderful family because of it.
And I have a wonderful brother and sister because I'm an only child and I really love having them. It's been amazing. And growing up with them, really, essentially from 16 on.
Sure, but my dad had red flags.
Okay.
So like that
I'm learning things too now about my own in-laws. I didn't meet the man in person until we had been married 5 years and you were deployed.
Sure.
That was wild. I was like, hello, nice to meet you. I'm your daughter-in-law. And I've been with your son for 10 years.
Right. And
Surprise.
A lot of that is due to choices that he had made in his life. It wasn't a matter of, you know, being neglectful as much as it is about being vigilant.
Yeah. But honestly, I love that we're talking about this and we're talking about, and even using, you know, we don't mind. I don't think our mothers mind. If you do, sorry, Mom. I think they're fine. But talking about, you know, the mistakes of our parents.
Right.
And, in some contexts, our own mistakes, because we didn't get this perfectly. I mean,
No, we didn't.
It's part of the struggle, though.
Sure.
And honestly, some of the things we avoided was because we met so early.
I think so.
But like even seeing our parents and the way they picked how they picked, like we can kind of bring in a different like experience / scenarios and also like kind of learn ourselves from those.
Why are you the way that you are?
Oh my goodness. My mother's nuts. No, I'm kidding. But I think that my mom really didn't think, or that they didn't really talk about a whole lot ahead of time. And that I think really brought that typical like, well, he's got some problems, but I can fix him. That stupid Frozen fixer-upper song.
Yeah, that in a little bit.
But the whole thing where, I think they had certain, common goals, a very cursory one, because like actually when they got married, they did not plan on having children. They were decidedly like no kids. So they were just going to be the wild couple, like, going off with dirt bikes into, the woods and
doing their thing.
And then all of a sudden it kind of hit them. They're like, maybe we'll want kids. Mm-hmm. So, and then once that happened, that changed the dynamic of their marriage. And they didn't even, in preparation, as I was cooking, they didn't talk about anything that is stuff going to be different with us, or is, what's going to happen and stuff like that. So they didn't really go, oh, this is a different phase of our lives. How are we going to navigate this?
Right. And I think a lot of that is just a lack of foresight on their part.
That's a lack of foresight because they could have used, it's nice that babies bake 9 months for that purpose.
Right.
That you can at least figure out how to shift. And I think my mom always wanted to be like Susie Homemaker, especially if once they decided they were going to have kids.
Sure.
And he just was like, we can't just go on the way we were forever. It's like, no, you have a tiny little human being who screams and needs things. And he's like, wait, what? And he just started to like be like, okay, well, you can stay home with the kid, or you can, take care of the kid primarily because you're the mom, and I'm just going to go keep on keeping on. And it's like, that's not the way that works.
Well, I mean, if you had it like that, then sure, but he didn't have it like that.
But honestly, he essentially was part of that decision. It wasn't like my mom like baby trapped him or anything. They were very conscious. They tried my mom had medical issues that made it difficult and damaged her equipment. So like it was a 9-year process just to have that first positive pregnancy test. So, there were a lot of opportunities there. Not saying,
have the conversation
you
you're talking
didn't
about?
plan before you were married. It's like, of course not. They didn't want kids. But from the time they decided they want kids, and even, like a 9-month stint of, oh, we're going to have a baby, you might need to talk about, any new shift.
For you had a decent relationship with your dad. You had a healthy respect for him. You didn't like some of the things that he had done, and that's totally reasonable to go ahead and divorce the things that he had done from his character and your relationship with him.
That's very true. Well, also my mom, and this is great to talk about for, ladies and gentlemen who are no longer together, who have kids that they have to co-parent. My mom never spoke ill of my dad. As angry as she was, she still loved him, but he did some things that are irreparable. He did irreparable damage to her, but she never spoke ill of me to him, and she never sought to like completely isolate us from him.
And that's definitely to your mother's credit.
But she knew that she needed sole custody. Mm-hmm. And she granted him like visitation. So I didn't go like half and half anything. It was like 1 weekend a month, which was really fun because I got my own room. And then I had like, where do you want to go this month? Oh, you want to go Disneyland? Okay. I'm like, but it was like Camp Dad. She was good. She loved that for us because it was a very small, short amount of time, but it was a very fun amount of time. So he got to be fun, and he would essentially, as a blue collar worker, he would work the entire month and save all of his pennies so that he could just blow it all Not all of it. He was responsible, but like, yeah.
Right. And I think that's to your mother's credit that she didn't go ahead and speak ill of that,
That is
because
the
it's
thing.
very common for split families where the custody is dad gets every other weekend, for that to be held against the father. That, oh, he goes ahead and makes everything fun, so she has to do all the responsible things.
Yeah. I mean, even when I was in trouble, which I'm not bragging on myself, but I was generally a pretty good kid, but you mess up. And the punishments that were laid out at my primary residence were actually carried on at Camp Dad. They came to follow me. So if there was no TV, then I was like, oh, this is going to be a boring weekend, but okay.
Yeah.
Which was nice that they sought to work out however they could to co-parent together as much as possible. But also the best part was that my parents knew how it had to be structured. They didn't just want me to stay with them to take me away from the other, to that petty like stuff and using, because even if you don't overtly do that stuff where the kid knows what's up, and even if you're like, oh, they're too young to understand, they'll pick up on it. But also the handoffs and stuff like that, if you can cut the tension with a knife, they're going to pick up on that too. And it's going to transfer into their own relationships going forward. And, even my separated or single, co-parenting friends, I'm always on the side of, hey, I know what they did was crappy. But for this kid, you just got to hold on at least until they're old enough to see for themselves, because they will.
Well, and there's something to be said about doing that in such a way as to go ahead and do intentional harm to the other parent, because you're still vengeful and you're still dealing with the hurt over years. And that just shows that there's a lot more healing to be done in that situation.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's talk about the next one. So I think that another big glaring red flag is either feminists, like hardcore feminists, or leftist ideologues. People that are just sold into the ideology and they just drink the Kool-Aid and they don't really think through their positions, but just, hey, whatever the coven of hags say, that's what they go with.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge red flag, because a lot of times you're going to end up dealing with issues of disrespect, issues of contention.
Yeah. We're not here to say fully anti-feminism. We're not talking about you have to be the property of your husband or father until you leave their house and get married, or you're a widow or something like that. We're not going full tilt, because we're doing our best to control the what do you call it? Ruffling of jimmies.
Oh, I don't know. I think some jimmies are going to get rustled regardless.
I don't care. But I just want to at least attempt to define the terms here.
Okay, sure.
But
How would you define feminism?
Because I don't want to talk about being a feminist, even as a woman can do anything a man can do, because that is not true. Women can go be on the front lines in combat, women could be drafted and all that stuff. I don't think so. But if you want that life, the military lifestyle, you should be able to do everything to a single standard of men and women. There should not be a male standard of physicality and a women's standard of physicality.
There should be one standard.
There should be equal rights, equal lefts.
Okay, so how would you define feminism?
Well, personally, objectively, what I find in the world as far as feminism, it is completely a prejudice against men. Punishing men for all of women's oppression throughout history.
Right, and the thing is, oppression by whom?
People refer to it the patriarchy and stuff like that.
Sure.
But just being up until the 70s or something, a woman couldn't even have a credit card or had a bank account.
But why was that?
I understand why that was. But especially because women's culture had to change with the times that was happening. It had to. But, and there was always more, I don't know. There was always oppression, true oppression of women. They could smack them around, or it didn't matter if, a husband and wife said like marital rape.
Sure.
Like there was always that around, and people felt like they didn't have to talk about it or they could sweep it under the rug rather than, being like, this isn't right. And I don't want anybody to get it twisted that like all of those things are objectively wrong, and in small ways where women could like get out from under that. But as far as women are now, the pendulum has swung the other way, where women are now like toxic masculinity and like, again, what somebody was like, why are men speaking about women's bodies and blah, blah, blah. All of that stuff, where it's just like, why doesn't everybody get a seat at the table?
Well, because they want to control the table.
Exactly.
Okay, so here's how Oxford Dictionary defines feminism. So you were saying and you were describing things rather than defining.
Yeah, I know,
term.
because
so
it's
it's fine. I was going to give a personal definition, but we have this one right here. So from Oxford Dictionary, it says, the advocacy of women's rights on the basis of the equality of the sexes. I think that in theory, that's what it is. But I think the biggest problem comes in is the advocacy part and what equality means. So I think equality, a lot of times, to them means equity, where they go ahead and get 50-50.
Yeah.
They should have equal representation based on, population level. And I think that that's unrealistic. They should have no legal barriers in front of them to have every opportunity to succeed, but the standards shouldn't change for them.
I agree with actually both of them, because I've pretty much been consistent in saying throughout this whole journey so far that we've been on, like, if you're going to have a standard, apply it across the board. Be consistent. Like, if you're going to have that rhetoric, that man can do anything or woman can do anything a man can do, we should all be the same, then one standard for physical fitness, one standard for anything, but it isn't consistent. That's my problem.
The problem is that they're inconsistent in a lot of things. They don't care about representation across the board. They care about representation in terms of positions of power and authority. It's as if they really just want to advocate to get as much power as possible.
Yeah.
And
but also,
they talk about going against a patriarchy, but when they look at a patriarchy, a lot of times they'll paint all men with a broad brush as if all men have oppressive power, which we know that that's not the truth. It's a relatively small, infinitesimally small percentage of men that have this access to the levers of power to do these things. And we go ahead and blame all men for that? That doesn't make sense.
well, also like the whole thing where everybody gets a voice, everybody gets a seat at the table. But when a man has, opinion on anything that's more female focused, like, pro-choice, blah, 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 they don't get to comment on it. They just get shut down and silenced. That whole everybody gets a seat at the table, everybody has a voice. No, you don't have a voice.
They're like, you don't have the parts, so you can't have an opinion. Well, the problem is you can go ahead and look at a given issue and look at its logical entailments and look at the societal impact of the actions and activities associated with that policy and see that it is either good or bad for society, or a mixture of both, as most policies are.
Most are, yeah.
Right? But they would rather try to stifle opposition whenever possible, I think.
It doesn't fit their version of the narrative.
Right.
Then it's
It's about weaving a
you
tape.
just shut it down.
So now, why is it a red flag in a relationship? I think that if there's somebody that's just sold out to the ideology, that you're going to end up having a person that is really contentious and wanting to fight about things and get emotionally invested in things that may have nothing to do with them.
Women trying to control what, the decisions made because they feel it doesn't involve their spouse or like husband or potential husband or whatever.
Sure.
Like you're inevitably, if you are looking for this, loving, committed, married family relationship, and you're inevitably going to talk about things that are the structure of your family. But, when they say, I don't want to have kids, well, or when they have kids, well, no. It's my body, my choice. So I get to say when we have kids. That is not okay.
Well, that's also the red flag. It's like, oh,
that is where that's where this comes from.
There's the red flag. And you say, okay, well, if you're not down for kids, kids are a part of my future. If kids are not a part of your future, then we don't have a future. And for the guy to be okay to say that and walk away.
Yeah. But then, of course, I've seen it where it's like, because of that disconnect in how they want to structure a family and stuff like that, she walks away and say, he was trying to control me. He's trying to dictate what I do with my body.
Right. And that's okay. Here's the thing is like when when a man puts down a standard that a woman doesn't like and they're a feminist or an ideologue of some sort, that's going to cause huge problems in terms of boundaries, and they're going to get their jimmies rustled really bad. And there's going to be irreconcilable differences. And I think that's a good thing. You want to know where the irreconcilable differences are going to be.
Find the
line.
Find those irreconcilable differences before you have to list that on divorce papers.
Absolutely.
It'll save yourself a lot of time, a lot of grief, a lot of life experience that you can share with somebody who's worth investing in, who shares the same direction in life, and also save you a lot of money on divorces.
Sure. And I think another thing that often comes with leftist ideology or feminism, generally speaking, is a victim mentality. It's, oh, hey, we've been oppressed because of the patriarchy, and I don't want to have a patriarch in my family. I don't want to be oppressed. Whereas what they're seeing as patriarchy is the actions of this small group of dudes, not somebody that cares for them individually and loves them and wants to defend them and provide for them.
But also that respects themselves enough to, have a standard, have goals, be going in a certain direction, and wants to know if it's like, you want to come along or should we not waste our time?
Yeah.
No, you're just trying to control me. That's it.
Well, it's interesting because that brings up
hard stop.
That brings up an illustration that Orion Taraban, this gentleman we'll talk about in future episodes. He put up this basic notion about the captain and the passenger. Whereas dudes will go ahead and build themselves up over a number of years to become a captain to be appealing for passengers. And passengers get to, take a look at what the captain has going on and decide whether they want to ride or not. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a great illustration. We'll get into it in depth in another episode.
But then the invited passenger, the willing passenger, wants to mutiny.
Yeah, and that's the thing is the captain has to go ahead and know how to...
We're here to prevent that.
Well, right, and to teach people how to be their own version of a captain or be a hero in their own family. I think that's an important thing that we have going on. But if she's got a victim mentality, you're going to have so many problems just because she'll see you as the oppressor and herself as the oppressed. Obviously, we're painting in broad brushstrokes. Not everybody, but... I think generally speaking, this is a thing. Their key points to get power is they want to go ahead and represent the little guy, so they say, until they get to be in power, and then they want to oppress others by tone policing or getting to control the story and things of that nature.
I mean, leftists, feminists, all that stuff get married, and there's some that have successful marriages of longevity and having. It's like that's great, but there comes a point where we can't talk about every...
Sure. And we want to go ahead and talk about conditions that are most likely to create a happy, long-lasting marriage.
For a better success rate. Tradition actually is tradition for a purpose and for a reason.
And it's important to take a look at why the traditions are what they are before trying to break them down.
Again, we're just offering the point of view for consideration. And if you don't like it... then that's fine.
That's okay.
Go live your life.
Doesn't hurt our feelings. So the third red flag that I want to bring up in women is that she tries to compete with you on everything. Generally speaking, women don't want their equal. They want somebody that they can look up to. And if she's always trying to compete with you and constantly tests you, there is something deeper there that you should probably leave that relationship be so that she can deal with whatever she needs to deal with.
People have a natural knack for not playing games they know they can't win. If you know your worth as a human being is the equivalent thing, and you just know that you are very different people with very different, roles within a relationship, within a family, then you don't have that need for competition.
Sure, but I think a lot of those people will buck at the very idea of gender roles to begin with, right? They'll look at the people as a blank slate rather than looking at them as complementary pieces to a greater whole. Whereas I think that my opinion is that men and women are better together than they are apart.
Yep.
And that they generally serve different purposes in a relationship, in a marriage, and as parents. And that your family and the community around you gets to be stronger when you have stronger families. That's the general thought process that I have going into this.
That's true. And it just makes you wonder, if somebody wants to sit there and constantly try and do better than the person that they're supposed to love more than anyone on this planet. Like, what is lacking in you that you feel the need? It's a call for introspection.
So just to clarify, you're talking about somebody trying to do better and then putting it in the other person's face.
The notion that you need to do better than that other person.
Right. Right. Whereas I would say that a healthy way to look at that, if you're talking about growing and being better, is I want to improve myself to be a better person for you and for our family. I think that's a healthy motivation rather than I want to be better so I can shove it in your face.
That's the thing. It's like, no, I can do better than this. You're doing it wrong. I'm going to do more. And it's like, who hurt you?
Right. Or what's the point you're trying to make?
Right.
And if that point is made, what does it matter? Like, so what? You're better in this one context. And if you are, and that's going to go ahead and cause a rift in the relationship, you're going to have other problems. It's a symptom of a greater disease.
It is. It's those chinks in the foundation that's going to make the whole thing crumble, especially when you're trying to sit there and look at the other person and say, why are you just doing this? Why aren't you doing this much more and this much more? And criticizing it rather than going, so where are you going with this? Is this where we're at? Or do you have desires for upward mobility here? Whatever it is, career-wise, physically, doesn't matter.
It's widely applicable.
It's all in the delivery. Like, it's all in how you kind of suggest that.
Or how you package it.
Yeah.
Right?
But also, it should go both ways, where you should be willing to accept your own room for improvement or some kind of suggestions from the other person.
And consider the feedback.
Yeah. If you're giving that, you should be open to receiving it from the other person, especially from somebody who ostensibly cares for you and who wants what's best for you and yourselves together, like collectively. Like, so, and that is the thing I see in women, especially, that's lacking, is like, you can sit there and go, you're not this and you don't do that. And then they're like, well, you could probably stand to do a little better here. Don't you criticize me.
Yeah, sure. It's all fun
wow.
to dish it out, but then once it's time to take it, it's a completely different story and a huge mess normally, because it goes back to accountability. Is a lot of people don't want to be held accountable for their actions, their behaviors.
It's again like how you talk to and about other people says a lot about you more than it does about what you're criticizing.
Sure, and it could, depending on the way that you're doing it, right?
So if you do that less than graciously.
So we were talking about she's competing with you. What about other competition running around? Like the fourth red flag that I'm going to go ahead and mention is she keeps men of her past around. I think that's really icky for her to have ex-boyfriends constantly like texting her while y'all are going out.
Yeah. I mean, especially if
just say the weird thing. I see it.
If he's not okay with it, and then you're just doing it just because it ruffles his jimmies.
Sure. Well, and I think this is especially the case if they've been to bed together. If he's ever been inside of her, he probably shouldn't be in your phone if y'all are broken up. Right? Like, it just seems icky. because it's
It
really
does.
easy to fall into old
A little
habits.
cringe. I mean, if you have had like children with somebody else and you're like co-parenting and stuff, but that's a whole thing that
Completely different story. Yeah.
you have to navigate. This is one of those suggestions where it's like, why are they still around? If it ended badly and then you're still talking to them.
Well, it's probably because he was toxic in all the wrong ways and toxic in all the right ways at the same time.
I think what we're circling around mostly, I'm not just saying this is the entire point. I'm saying if you are trying to make this amalgamation of a better person that you want out of the remnants you can get platonically from that other person and who you're with now.
Sure, that's one
If you're
gross
trying
thing.
to make like this perfect quote unquote collective, you get all like the little, if they were like a gushy ushy, like, and then you've got this other man who's like, doesn't really show that much, like, you know, did we talk about that? It was like posting all over Facebook.
Yeah, we
and
talked
like,
about that
yeah.
last time.
And then like if he doesn't be like, oh, you look so pretty today, or like, you know, all those little like little bitty things that kind of go, oh, that's so cute, and give you like the little dopamine hit or anything. And you're keeping them around solely for that.
Sure, I think it's unreasonable for a woman to go ahead and keep past boyfriends around for dopamine hits. I think that's
If they're getting their need for admiration or stuff like that, that is definitely super cringe.
super cringe.
Super, super cringe. But especially if you know each other's history, you know, especially if you're a guy and you know the history of that woman's past relationships and you're not comfortable with that, and she just completely, especially if you say, I'm not comfortable with this, and doesn't even consider it or say, let's talk about it, just, well, I'm keeping, you can't tell me who to be friends with. That is completely like hard stop, no, run.
Yeah, and I would go so far as to say that if she's got dudes around from her past life and they ever slept in the same bed together, he shouldn't be in her contacts list. And if he is in her contacts list, I think that would be a deal breaker for me. That would be enough for me to be like, yeah, I don't date women who keep the men of their past around.
It's definitely a point that gives you all the more caution if they've had a physical relationship.
Sure. And it's just like any of these red flags. It's not, hey, it's a light switch on or off. It's a matter of, hey, maybe this takes some investigating and maybe this takes some consideration.
These are definitely points of consideration.
All right. So the next one is if she's a party girl and she does not give up the party lifestyle once there's commitment and exclusivity involved.
A committed relationship that's going somewhere.
Right. That's enough for me to go ahead and say, no, we're not doing this.
Yeah, definitely. That is not the lifestyle. Honestly, why are you even looking at going to bars or party, you know, like clubs and whatever to go look for that kind of a person? They're not going to be there.
Well, sure, but maybe it's not you're looking for a long time. Maybe you're looking for a good time.
Do you, boo-boo? Like,
right, but at the same time, if you're going out partying, what's the point of going out to a bar normally? Vast majority of time, you're looking for somebody of the other gender, and you're looking to see what's available on the market.
like females generally like do that, and they just go out in packs, and then they just go find somebody to have fun with, and then they like either leave with them or without them. I don't know. But I was never really in the dating scene. But, you know, what I have seen is like these people are generally looking for someone to do more of the same with. And that is not the jam that we're
not laying that out.
Yeah, this is not what we're discussing. This is not up for discussion. That's just like, you want to go find a party buddy to go party. But if you want to find a party buddy to party with your whole life,
that's what we're talking about.
That's what we're talking about.
Well, and then once the alcohol starts flowing, you know that all kinds of bad decisions come from that kind of environment. And if you're willingly going into that environment and usually dress the way that people tend to dress going into that environment, it is as if you were inviting things to happen. And that's why I think that's enough for me to say, no, we're not going to be doing that. I don't date people that go out partying.
Yeah, that's a standard if you are looking with this end goal in mind. That is not It's not the scene you should be in. It's not the kind of people who are in the scene that you should be looking for, because it just begets more of the same.
Right. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. If she is heavily tattooed or pierced, that's like putting a sticker on a Lamborghini to me. It's a beautiful work of art, and you just want to slap a sticker on it.
People's gonna get mad.
That's okay.
People's gonna get mad.
Especially if you got tattoos all up on your boobs or on the lower back. It's like, what, are you looking for target practice? Is that what's going on here? It sends a message, right? I'm not talking about the cute little unicorn tattoo on your ankle or whatever.
Like, okay.
Symbolically important to you, that's fine. If you have a cultural thing where, you know, part of your culture is to go ahead and get a septum piercing.
We definitely leave those alone.
Like, that's that's a cultural thing. That's a religious
Definitely.
thing. Not a big deal. If you are faithful in your religion and that's part of what's in there, that shouldn't be a red flag in that context, but that's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah, like this personal belief that you need to memorialize someone. No, I'm talking about a departed one or somebody, you know, or, you know, the semicolon, like, rock on, people, I'm glad you're here.
But at the same time, you're
like
not going to
that.
go ahead and put a memorial tattoo all across your chest as a woman. And if it's the name of an ex-boyfriend, run, get out of there.
Oh, like I would never be like, for our 20th anniversary, I'm just going to put Mike's property right here.
No, not at all. I'd be like, nope,
No.
we're not doing that.
No, definitely. For me,
Like, we could go ahead and get like a collar and, you know, have a tag, and, you know, there could be fun things to do that, but nothing permanent, you know? It's something you can go ahead and take on and put off, you know?
temporary mark.
Yeah, temporary markings, right?
Blue and then purple and then yellow.
You know, those kind of
the
things.
color changing one. No, I'm kidding. Okay, but anything that's like, especially that's very prominent, that's somewhere like even like where it's going to show no matter mostly what you wear.
Sure.
That is, it's something that's like, it just gives you pause to be like, what's happening here? Like, what is your life like?
Sure. And I think that in some ways, some people will have like really good reasons to have tasteful tattoos and things of that nature. And then other people want to have a whole sleeve to go ahead and tell a story. And just like all these other red flags, it's not a yes or no. It's a matter of, hey, maybe there's something to this, something for consideration. But if it's a tattoo right here or right along the inner thigh or right there on the backside, someone had to go ahead and spend hours of work to go ahead and put it there.
In that area. But for me personally, like the hard stop is I don't care if you've been together forever, like being married 21 years next week. But if you put somebody's name on your body,
It's not your children. Like, I think that's a thing. Like, my brother has a tattoo of my grandmother's name right here on his wrist. And I don't think I mean, I think generally speaking, tattoos on dudes is not seen culturally as a negative thing as much as it is on women for aesthetic reasons.
definitely. And that's a fact of life.
They're just
It
judged
is.
differently.
You can't fight the psychology of it,
Right.
you know?
And that's why we leave it on this list, not the man's list.
But also, it's not like up here in Old English, like calligraphy, like it isn't Delia right here, you know, like, and it's huge.
Yeah,
it's
respectful.
Simple. It's like small thing because she was a wonderful human being.
Absolutely.
And, you know, and he, knowing who he is, and that's another thing. It's like, if we aren't dating, if we aren't, you know, if I ain't going home with you, like,
You don't care.
like, you know, a lot of, you know, people that we work with and people that we, you know, hang with and stuff. Oh, tatted, you know, my bestie has like a whole TARDIS tattoo right here. I'm like, good for you, babe. I don't care. I don't have a dog in this fight. You know, I'm not sitting there judging every single person I pass by at the supermarket, you know, pick up my groceries. But beside the point, you know, I don't care.
And
This is just for consideration for somebody that you want to spend your life with. You want to look at that thing day in, day out.
sure. And the thing is, like you said, we don't judge daily, but you should have some level of discernment with somebody that you intend to spend a good chunk of your life with.
Yeah.
And see what are the motivations behind these things.
Now, if you're tatted up to the neck and, you know, that's your hobby together, great, you found your perfect match. Use the other, you know, to kind of vet this person.
Sure. And if you happen to have these very niche interests, by all means, go ahead find the thing that works for you. So if we didn't rustle people's jimmies with that, we're going to rustle people's jimmies with this next one. Body count.
Ouch.
Ouch. A lot of people have really big sensitivities to this topic because they don't want to be disqualified for the person that they want to be with because of choices of their past.
That's just, they don't want consequences.
They don't want the consequences of their actions, right? And whether we like it or not, there is a genuine distaste for people that have just given themselves up too easily. And like, you can go ahead and be mad about it, or you can recognize that and hopefully, if you are not in that circumstance, don't make those choices that lead to that. Or if you are already there, try to make the best of what you've got and advise others not to do the same if it hasn't worked out well for you.
Definitely, I think, especially before you go looking at anyone else, you need to figure out what your threshold would be. And if people are just, and then you get to that conversation where you just have somebody who's just like is well beyond what you thought your comfortable threshold was, you need to think about that. I'm not saying that is like full stop, because I'm not you. I have my own preferences, and those preferences aren't everybody else's preferences. It's just, again, something to, maybe you want to consider that. And especially in females, the body count issue, if they go to that basic, like, making excuses kind of rhetoric, saying, oh, but I thought we were going to get married and we were together this long and all of that stuff. Well, if that happened repeatedly, that shows a pattern of judgment that is suspect.
Whereas if she got a body count of 1 and that was the story, you would judge her very differently than you would if that story was repeated 50 times.
I mean, if you even had a body count less than you can count on one hand.
Yeah, there's something there. Now, why does that matter, right? Because I think generally speaking, most women don't really care that much how much action the man has gotten in his life. Whereas dudes, biologically, deep down, have an innate distaste for female promiscuity.
Well, you actually said the last half of this. What women keep are responsible for keeping and what men are responsible for keeping. And that is the reason why women are judged more harshly.
Mm-hmm. Like, there hasn't been a single culture in the past 10,000 years that has glorified female promiscuity. There's always been some cultural impetus to go ahead and maintain some semblance of purity. And it's as if there is some wisdom to, hey, maybe you want to save something special for someone special.
I mean, and people will say, well, but men just go to these brothels and stuff and they just stay there or whatever, and it was fine for them. The biggest thing is it was not a part of culture, where here it's on Front Street. It's all in the front windows, of a lot of different industries. It's just like, it's just a given that you're just gonna do a lot of stuff with a lot of people and it's fine. But then, oh, well, I'm ready to settle down now. So all of that doesn't matter. Whereas before, it's like you get married, you have the spouse, and yeah, they definitely did a whole lot of, the guys did a whole lot of catting around. For me, and I'm not saying it was absolutely right for them to do that. I'm saying that, like, in the culture as a whole, they were discreet about it. They didn't put it in media. They didn't put it in every advertisement and all of that stuff.
Sure.
Like, they kept it as the separate, like, bubble that did not leak into general society.
Now, something else that's to be noted is that, generally speaking, we value the things that are hard to do and hard to accomplish. So for men, it is relatively difficult to secure a sexual relationship with a woman compared to how easy it is for a woman to just go to a bar and say, hey, I'm open for business. And you'll have a whole bunch of dudes lining up.
A lot of customers.
You'll have a whole lot of people lining up. So an interesting analogy that people have used in the past is about locks and keys. Mm-hmm. A lock that opens for any key is a shitty lock. A key that can open any lock is a master key. You know, right, wrong, or indifferent, there's something to be said there. If a dude has the skills to go ahead and seduce women, that is a skill that takes a lot of time and effort to develop and cultivate.
Well, especially, having game in these days.
Whereas, like we said before, a woman can go out to the bar and just say, hey, that she's open for business.
Just throw it out there.
And have a bunch of dudes line up. Which one takes more effort and skill over an extended period of time? It's pretty obvious which one takes more effort. And so that's why I think that body count is judged so differently in our culture, because there's a measure of skill involved.
I mean, doing a lot of people, it's more of an anomaly to be in any kind of committed relationship, let alone a married relationship, let alone a successful married relationship.
Right. All of those things are very different matters.
Yeah, we're practically zoo animals. They need to study us.
Sure. So let's go ahead and talk. Now that we've rustled a bunch of Jimmies, let's rustle some more Jimmies.
Oh, goodness.
You ready? Ready for this one? Lock in. Single moms. I would avoid single moms if at all possible. But hey, if you're a dude in your 50s and you have, succeeded in life and you also have kids, okay, maybe this is not something that you should really pay too much attention to, because you've got to go ahead and fish where your value can be valued. And maybe you can't go ahead and get the best of the best. And that's okay. But generally speaking, I think single mothers are not a great investment of your time. I'm going to go ahead and make a blanket exception for widows on this one. If the dude died and they were still together and all of that, there's a huge difference in dynamics there. Mm-hmm. Whereas with a single mom, oftentimes you're expected to bear responsibility without having authority. You're expected to help take care of the children, but not discipline the children. Or if you're disciplining the children, you can only discipline them in a way that mom says is okay, because they're her kids. They'll never be your kids.
I mean, more power to you if you want to take that on. But that is more to discuss when you are considering the long term. That is stuff that you will have to navigate before there's even another ring on her finger.
Yeah.
Where, how you're going to structure your family, how you're going to structure, are these really my kids? Am I just not allowed to discipline that? And if she's actually like, these are my kids and you can't interfere with their raising, but they're going to be under your roof.
To me, that's a red.
That is
get out of there. Yeah.
You can't. And single moms, again, if they are co-parenting with someone where the ex is either completely not involved, that brings more to bear as far as her, however that happened, to consider what the co-parenting relationship is. If there's that pettiness where I'm going to do stuff with the kids or I'm going to take them more just to hurt you, that is another consideration.
You might be next.
So, and this actually really does lightly transfer to the male responsibility. If he's got kids, essentially, if he's a deadbeat dad, we're not even we can't even have this conversation. If you're not manning up your responsibility for your current obligations, you cannot take on another thing.
Well, I think that the important context to give to why we're giving this list is we're giving it to people that generally have their stuff together.
If you don't
consider these things.
This is step one.
Yeah, get your house in order.
If you're a dude and you've got kids from previous relationships and you're starting to get your life together and all of that, and you're thinking about, I would love this. This is the ideal that I want to chase, and I'm at a point in my life where I'm seeing that I'm not getting any younger and I need to chase it. The first thing is handle your own responsibilities. Handle your own current house, and however you do and however you be, to where if a woman comes up who is a quality, candidate, and they're going to look at that as okay, so you're handling your responsibility with your other kids and everything's good and you're, copacetically, co-parenting. But again, am I going to have any responsibility with these kids, and how that happens? All this is subjects and points for negotiation and consideration.
Okay. Yeah, that's all well and good. Let's go ahead and glide back to the woman's side of this.
It's of a different kind.
So I think that it's really interesting how when your mother and my mother got back into the dating market for a period of time, they were both explicitly clear that their children were more important than the prospective mate. And I think there's pluses and minuses that go along with that. Like, it is a respectful thing to go ahead and say that up front. But if they are going to get married at some point, I think this goes back to what we said about culture in general and how we believe that the marriage is more important than the children. Mm-hmm. And if she is treating you like you are substantially less important than the children consistently, that may give you pause and be something to consider.
I think this is best navigated with nuance. I think that in the preliminary vetting process, in the dating process, mm-hmm. even before you become a committed relationship, if that comes up and they're like, my kids are more important right now than you. If I have to cancel a date because I have to be there for them for something else, I'm going to do that. That is admirable.
That shows responsibility.
That is the correct choice to make. But there's going to come a point where if you are now going to commit to this person, there's going to come a paradigm shift.
Or there should come a paradigm shift.
There should, and hopefully there will be, where now they have together, and hopefully in a mature way of conducting life, when you commit to one another, there needs to be preliminary meshing where it's like, this is what we're doing. This is this person. We're all going to get to know each other. So there's going to be some times where I have to miss because we have things to do or something. I'm not saying like, sorry, little Jimmy, I can't be there for your whatever,
for your baseball game because I'm going to go ahead and go with
because
Johnny
I'm going
here.
to Bermuda with Bob over here.
Sure. And that's not what we're at.
Like, sorry, I'm just going to completely like pawn you off on your grandparents or something.
No, and I think that being responsible is one thing, but I think using it as a shield to protect yourself is another thing entirely.
Especially because kids are little jerks and they'll probably capitalize on that.
Oh, sure. And they can manipulate things here and there and
don't let it.
Play mom against dad and all this kind of stuff. And just don't let it happen. Another thing to consider is that at a very basic level, dudes have a genuine genetic distaste for someone else's genetic material under their household.
That's biology.
That's just biology.
It's biology.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's just what it is. So consider these things wisely.
Finding a quality, and that's why generally these second marriages, these moving past the baby mama, baby daddy situation is more difficult. That's why it's a point of consideration because it makes things difficult by nature.
Oh, yeah. Because, logistically and all kinds of ways, it makes things tougher. And
of course, as evolved, biological creatures, we don't have to just obey our biology all the time. You can kind of move past it. And that a reasonable human being who, commits to this relationship also commits to moving past that general, like, primal distaste for not your genetic material and, prioritizing your own biological child over any, other non-biological children in the house. That's part of the vetting and the part of the, transition to a committed, relationship and a marriage and all of that stuff and a blending of the families. That's why there is so much, many, clinical therapists and stuff like that trying to, provide support for that effort. Because it's an effort.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and move on. Well, let's talk about the dad side of this. We talked a lot about single moms, but I think that single fathers are treated differently if they have sole custody because they've gone through the ringer in the divorce court and they ended up with sole custody somehow. Based on how things go in the courts, usually there has to be something really wrong with mom or something exceptionally good going on with dad. So I think that if you've got a single father that's, holding all of his responsibilities and things like that, it's not as much of a red flag for women as it is for a single mother to be a red flag for a dude.
That's true. What in your judgment created that?
Sure.
Just that's the natural thought process in the back of people's heads, even though, maybe they don't say the weird thing, but that's just what goes on in the background of people's brains when they're saying, oh, you're a single mom and what happened here? Like, whereas pretty much if it's a single dad, especially if it's not a widower,
Right.
and mom is still around somewhere, but we don't know where, pretty much all you have to do, almost like women, is show up. Just be handling the responsibilities. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's all you have to do as a dad, whereas you have to, get more, overcome more of that, what happened here? They don't really care. They're just like, oh, wow, look at you taking care of responsibilities. Because it's such a rarity for men even to be in the home, let alone taking on the entire responsibility for their children.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Is she seeks validation from the public. So if she's got a public Instagram or Facebook and she is posting scantily clad pictures of herself for the world to see, that is a huge red flag. Like, why in the world is she doing this? So I've got somebody that's on my friends list on Facebook, but we have like a professional relationship, and she's married and she does that. And it is the craziest thing. I'll just scroll past, but it's like, why are you doing this?
What is happening here?
What is going on in this relationship that this is okay?
I mean, when you think about social media, especially just your own personal social media, it's not even a business or whatever. And this is essentially, what is social media for?
For attention.
You're just putting yourself out there. Like, especially the things that are posted publicly, like profile pictures and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. If that is an intentional choice for you to put that kind of stuff from that wild night at the club on your thing as your personal profile photo for all the world to see.
You are sending a message.
That is basically your front window. This is what you're telling the world who you are. Mine has my family's Christmas photo on it with a label under it that says Chaos Coordinator. Essentially, that's what I want people to see. I want people to see my lovely family that I have worked my whole life to build. That is my life's work right there. And that is what I want in my front window. What do you want in your front window?
What are you advertising?
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Because even though, we're not saying that you're selling yourself. That's what you're offering to the world.
Speaking of selling yourself.
Oh, boy.
That's the next red flag. Is if she was ever a sugar baby or was involved in any kind of pay for play, whether it is online hookups for pay, any form of prostitution, any kind of sex work. If she was ever a sex worker, that's probably not a good place to look for a wife.
Oh, fat. OnlyFans.
Well, yeah, we'll see what the algorithm says about that. But anyhow, I think that it's probably best to try not to turn a whore into a housewife.
Oh, boy.
I think generally speaking, that's not good advice. So we'd recommend you don't do that. Pretty straightforward stuff. I don't think we need to dwell on it too much.
I mean, in general, too, those kind of women are going to be high maintenance.
Or even if they're not, right? There's so much that goes into selling oneself in a lot of ways that will leave lasting scars. Regardless of circumstances, decisions were made and decisions have consequences. Yeah. Just like any actions, nobody really cares about your circumstances. They care about what you did and what the results were.
That's true. How many OF, personalities just all of a sudden like do this for a little while and then become business moguls.
Or they try to do that. They try to make that transition.
Well, you will become a mogul, but in the same industry.
Sure.
And then if that's your goal, do it. Go for it. Enjoy. Live your life.
There are lots of consequences that come with it. Like, imagine little Jimmy goes to the schoolyard and their friend Johnny goes ahead and pulls up your profile on his cell phone and says, hey, look what your mom's doing.
I think my dad's a subscriber.
Yeah. It is just gross. It leads to all kinds of crazy stuff. And here's the thing is what self-respecting dude would go ahead and choose to commit to somebody that there is evidence of them just doing all kinds of craziness with other dudes out on the internet for all the world to see? That is just not a healthy thing to have around there. Because generally speaking, if your woman has been around the town, you are less respected for it. All right. Generally, your woman's loyalty and chastity are things that are representative of respectfulness of the man.
That is why it's offered at a premium. Like, that's why you get paid. You can make a lot of easy money.
Oh, yeah. Fast money comes with slow problems.
Yeah. So that's why you can make a lot of money quickly doing that, because it's a high price for you yourself to pay as offering it. Because you're paying something too. Even though you're getting paid, you are paying something too.
There's no such thing as a free lunch. Everything has a trade-off. And some trade-offs are more obvious than others.
But if that's what you want to do, go off, sis. Go for it. But the more that happens and the more you go into that pathway, the less this pathway that we're talking about, this life's calling, this end goal, is going to be accessible.
Sure. And the lower the quality of mate that you can qualify for. It just is what it is. Understand that every decision and every behavior and every action has consequences. And that's just life. So let's go ahead and talk about pathological liars. If she cannot tell the truth to save her life, you should run. You should run. You should go away and disentangle yourself from her, because you might be the next person she lies about.
And this is cloaked definitely in that whole victim mentality.
Absolutely.
But this person did this to me and this person did this for you. And we are actually, I think I can safely say, we are absolutely, including lying by omission.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, obviously you don't have to spit out your entire sexual history and life story in, one meeting of somebody.
Yeah, that's unreasonable.
Like, you gradually, but if you are getting to that committed stage and they don't know things about you, like why your past relationships have failed, how, far down the rabbit hole you went, like with your relationship, your physical relationship and all of that stuff. If it's just all like, oh, well, this person did this to me, so I had to leave. And it's just like, okay, one, like we had said before, it says a lot about your judgment. But also, there comes a point where it's like, there wasn't 10 guys who consistently just did these horrific things to you.
Yeah. And if so, you allowed it to happen.
There was some part, and that's part of the taking responsibility for your failings. If there's nothing to offer at all for any culpability in those failed relationships, in the mistakes you've made in life and all of that stuff,
run quickly.
Run for your life. But also, that is a very strong sign that this could be the condition. Like, just consistent lying.
Yeah. So I think another thing to consider is, hey, if she thinks her shot clock is running out and she wants you for a baby, you might also want to consider what's going on. Like, there's this thing called the biological clock that, though a lot of people don't want to acknowledge that it exists, it definitely does. Having babies after 30, and especially after 40, gets harder and harder.
Don't get offended when your OBGYN calls during your prenatal appointments, says it's a geriatric pregnancy.
Any pregnancy after 35 or something like that?
Especially every pregnancy after 35. Also, just there's a measure of precautions after even 30. But definitely anything after 35. It was, don't get me wrong, it was kind of cool to get to do the blood test and find out the gender before even 20 weeks with the second two that we had.
Right.
That was pretty cool, I will admit. But then you get to, as you come to be full term, there are way more ultrasounds. Like, you have ultrasound paper coming out of your ears after that, because you have to go for so many, because they are tracking very closely any signs of distress with this baby, because, sorry, oven's getting on in years. It doesn't work like it used to do. Yeah. So, but yeah, if she's just after you for your baby gravy,
usually there's something up.
Any arguments that are, appeals to fear and FOMO, no. Don't negotiate with terrorists.
Don't negotiate with terrorists.
Especially female terrorists, especially pretty female terrorists.
Yeah, because they'll just use it against you. And it's interesting because this alludes to like one of the biggest challenges in being a woman in the modern era is a lot of times there's a conflict between having a career and having a family. And there is such a tight window to have everything put together, to have your best chances, to have everything. I'm of the opinion that you cannot truly have it all because there's always trade-offs. But I think at the same time, it's important to know that what are you willing to pay for that which you want? And I think a lot of people don't spend the time early on enough in life to know that and to know what they're willing to give up.
I can go into a whole monologue about how modern culture, feminist culture, has damaged and done women such a disservice to propel us forward so much that it's, you need to have it all. You should get a career and you should have children, and it pulls you every which way. I very vehemently challenge anybody to tell, to show me a trend where women don't, even if they love their careers to high heaven and they love their babies completely and wanted both of those so much that they were not, as much as they wanted their career and they want to progress their career, they did not really seriously contemplate, is this what I really want? Because that pull for, your family and that is just, it's biological. You cannot fight your biology. It's a great thing to have a career. And if that's what you want to do, as long as you navigate it together within your family structure, if it works for your family, do that. But this constant, I was just a stay-at-home wife for 5 years, and I definitely got so what do you do? And I'm like, I stayed home. Oh, do you do any jobs at home or whatever? Do you have kids? No. Do you work at home and stuff? Nowadays, before then, when I was actually a stay-at-home wife, that wasn't even contemplating. They didn't even think about that. But after I said, no, I don't have kids at home, but I stay at home. Oh, and the judgy face. And it finally, it took quite a few years to figure out, like, why do I get that judgy face? Like, if I'm happy, why is this so offensive to people?
They just want to yuck in your yum, babe.
Yeah, they're trying to pee in my cereal. Look at that.
How dare they?
And if you want to go off and have a career and you can afford daycare and you can do all the things that you want and your kids are very happy and you give them enough attention and you're very happy, I don't care. Like, go off with your bad self. But just because women, especially when we choose to raise families, and even to the detriment of that nice, cushy, like 2-income family, we made a very conscientious choice to be a 1-income family.
Yeah, and it was tough. It was tough for a number of years, and I had to work a lot of extra stuff for us to go ahead and get by and to get ahead.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't me putting in all the hours that I put in for those 10 years straight, we would be nowhere near in the position that we're in now to benefit from.
It was a very conscientious choice. There was sacrifice and
just effort.
Yeah. It was hard, especially when we had an infant and a toddler. I actually spent a whole year where I was very sick. But we kept on and thankfully had a wonderful village behind us to support us in that. And that was a great blessing. But it was a choice, and a choice that we committed to. Yeah. Just like a marriage, you committed to it, and it's hard. But if you act in accordance with your priorities and stick with it.
And it turns out that the best things in life aren't easy.
They are not.
Usually it takes a great deal of work and effort and sacrifice and planning and action to get the best things out of life. And some people are not willing to pay the cost.
Yeah, I mean, especially how many times have we seen, even either like overtly, I've heard it, where they look at where we are right now and they go, oh, it must be nice. I'm like, no, it wasn't nice.
You haven't seen the 15 years that went into
The
it.
road to get here was not nice. Trust me.
There were bumps, there were bruises, there was all kinds of craziness for it to happen. But because of the effort that we put in and the choices that we made and the convictions that we hold to, that's how we benefit for the long term. Mm-hmm. It's because we put in the work. Speaking of not wanting to put in the work, the next red flag is hissy fits. If you're going to enforce a boundary based on one of your convictions and she throws a hissy fit, there's something there. There absolutely is something there that you need to go ahead and take a look at. If it is a reasonable position to have and to hold for a standard and she just goes crazy, there may be something to look into.
Essentially, if you are going to have somebody tell you a boundary or a standard that they want to adhere to, you're supposed to ostensibly love and be committed to and want to forge through life together with. That's essentially you're a toddler. You're not a grown adult. You are a toddler trying to, throw a fit and hold your breath until they give you what you want. And that's not okay. And it's so interesting how much of a pass women get with this. Rather than if a man does it, oh, well, you're a man baby.
Well, villainized for going ahead and setting the standard in the first place.
Yeah, but then, if a woman does it, oh, you're just being controlling. It's like, I'm listening to her caterwaul.
But she's just not making any sense.
It's like, say the weird thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's female terrorism.
Yeah, it is a form of terrorism. Yeah.
It is a form of terrorism.
So one thing to go ahead and look at is it may not just be an obvious hissy fit right when things happen. It can look at like different things. It could look like passive aggression.
Silent treatment.
It could look like underhanded posts. It could look like gossip, vague booking, where you're just
nagging.
Nagging. These are all different ways of expressing displeasure with the establishment or the holding to a boundary.
Oh, that is the worst one. Withholding sex.
Oh, yeah, that's terrible. It's like, look, man, if he goes ahead and sets a standard and you're not about it and you want to go ahead and withhold sex because of it, it's your choice. But understand that your choice has consequences.
And especially if you are already married, committed to somebody, you are a married person and you withhold for a petty purpose. I'm sorry, no.
Well, all you're doing is doing damage. You're doing damage for effect. You want to go ahead and hurt him to the point where he capitulates. And generally speaking, it is the best move for the man not to capitulate and to go ahead and deal with not having sex and to go ahead and be straightforward and enforcing the boundaries still. Because otherwise, if you go ahead and give in, she will lose respect. If she hasn't already lost respect, which is why she's withholding in the first place. Because generally speaking, women that respect their men want to sleep with their men. Generally, there's an innate drive to have relations.
Yeah. Definitely. And it's interesting because even if you have like these things where it's like, I have a headache, or like, I'm just so tired. It's like, even if you're not, there's no issue and stuff and you just don't want to, offer a reasonable alternative. Somehow, get creative, negotiate. Make sure that it's something that you're both okay with.
Sure. Where things are reasonable. Because there's all kinds of craziness that people can invent and say, oh, well, this wonky hypothetical situation, the dude's acting like a terrorist and a horrible patriarch. We should go ahead and bring down the house on him.
See, that is not a reason. That's just being petty. That's female terrorism.
Sure.
I love that.
That's a pretty decent. We'll see how that floats with the algorithm and see if we get hurt for using that word. But we'll see. I think that's a pretty decent way to describe it. Now, another red flag is if she encourages you to nut inside without a condom before you guys are in a committed relationship. Wow. That's a red flag. This goes along with the whole baby rabies thing. Flush your own condoms, guys. Like, seriously, if you're going to go ahead and
bring your own.
Bring your own.
Or buy them together. There you go.
Oh, my gosh. So this reminds me of this movie that I saw where this guy, the offensive lineman for a quarterback, goes ahead and like harasses this woman that's trying to sleep with the quarterback and says, where's the condom that you want to put on my guy's Johnson? So she goes ahead and pulls it out and he's like,
was there little pinholes?
Oh, there were so many pinholes. Go ahead and pours the beer in the condom and bam, it's leaking all over the place. Supply your own condoms, my guys. Do not get caught up in some crazy baby trap because she was pretty and she batted her eyes at you and she went ahead and showed you some cleavage. Think with the right head. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
Well, there's also like, I think it was The Good Wife or something where she's like a lawyer. And seriously, there was this dude who had a DSM diagnosis where he had an obsession with like procreation, not even like just doing it, but like actually getting women knocked up. And he poked the holes in the thing. So everybody is in a common space before activities is free to inspect the condoms.
That'd be funny. The ritual inspection of the condoms.
It's like a coin toss match.
That's pretty fun.
So this is our dynamic. This is just a little taste of our dynamic where something gets said and then we just kind of snowball it into this
Chaotic
thing.
energy. All right. So back to order from chaos. All right. So the last red flag we'll go over for today is drama queens. If she cannot live life without some form of drama.
There's always something happening. More issues than Vogue.
Yeah, if there's more issues than Vogue, you probably want to stay away. And if you don't, understand that you may be the source of drama when she tells the story to her friends or to whoever else she tells the story to.
Yeah. It's like if she's like on the phone with her friends, like in the common space, and you just cannot help but hear stuff, like listen to it and see what's up. Like she's like there. I'm not saying like sneak up and like check her DMs or eavesdrop or whatever, especially if you're not in a committed
Don't do any of
relationship.
that nonsense.
But like honestly, if there's just stuff out there where she's just constantly talking about this and that and the other thing that's happening in her life, it's like, when does it end?
Yeah.
Because not only, reality TV shows that I do watch them because I'm, I guess, what was it in Pride and Prejudice? A connoisseur of human folly. There you go.
Yeah.
I was a psych major in college. And so I just love to sit there and watch all these trashy reality TV shows of these women, like who's mad at who and who's fighting with who and who's manslipping whom. And it's just like, this is just so interesting. But if that is your life and you almost sometimes, especially if that is a constant with a person, there is a good chance that they constantly seek after that. They just attract it naturally because they have just this. They say that, I just want some peace in my life, but then there's always something going on. It's like,
All the chaos.
really?
And it's usually surrounding them. I know a bunch of people
Yes.
that are just like that.
Drama seekers.
And yeah, just stay away.
Leave it to the professionals on TV.
Let the professionals on TV
Because not
entertain
even that
everybody.
is real. Like, not even that is real. Some of it is like scripted, or some of it is like, oh, that happened? Okay, let's do it again for the camera.
Sure, or let's go ahead and craft a story. Let's craft a narrative so that we can go ahead and get the clicks and get the views, right? Instead of it being actually real life.
Real life, on like YouTube and stuff.
But I mean, there's a bunch of people that are down to look at all the internet drama and say crazy things about these people and beef on each other. There's a whole subgenre of YouTube for that.
Yeah. If you get a straight shooting person who'd rather, deal with issues in person with somebody rather than talking behind their back and stuff, that is the person that you're looking for. Not
at least
a
that's an
person who
honorable
just
thing.
wants to just sit there and like everything and not do anything about it. Again, with like the victim mentality.
Yeah.
They're twin sisters.
So let's go ahead and wrap this up with some closing thoughts. So we're talking about red flags as cautionary tales and looking at them as not an absolute game changer or game breaker, but to go ahead and be food for thought. We talked last time about stuff in general between men and women, and we talked a lot of red flags in men. This time we spent most of our focus on women, where there was some of the men stuff, sprinkled in there.
Yep. So don't at me. I advocated for everybody.
He advocated for the
I
sisterhood.
did.
Sure.
But not in a way to cloak their sins, just in a way to like reframe some stuff and also frame it in the context of the kind of relationship that we're looking at.
Yeah. So what kind of advice would you have for women that are going out and looking for a man?
Since there's a big tendency not to take responsibility for your own mess, look at your own life. Look at your past relationships. look at the decisions that led you to that, and be honest with yourself about what you really want long term. Not even just talking about right now and the biological clock is ticking. Don't even listen to that. Even if you're doing OF or whatever, think about where you want to be, especially if you're in the 20s. When you're my age, most people have teenage kids. We have little kids, but we also mainly have teenage kids. Like, what do you want your life to look like in that time? Like, what do you want your, 90th birthday party to look like? Is it like surrounded by a bunch of kids, grandkids, great grandkids, like that kind of thing? Then you're looking for this. This is what you're looking for, what we're talking about. If it's just like, oh, I just want to have a bunch of like crazy old lady friends in the retirement home, and we want to race our little
Electric
wheelchair scooter things, then go party it up. Go find your people. Like, go find it. But be realistic with where you're at and where you're going and who you want to come with you along the way. Yeah. That's it. And if you want to go throw that thing out like it's going out of style, go do it. But if you want that whole 90th birthday with great grandma, and great grandma, maybe you want to take stock now.
Sure. And I think advice that I'd have for guys is if you don't qualify for the kind of woman that you want, you might want to look at getting better and doing things to get to be that kind of man.
Yeah.
Because you can go ahead and shoot your shot and you may be able to go ahead and succeed in getting a first or second date. But if you are not the genuine article, women are wonderful creatures because they can go ahead and usually tell if you're lying, if you're faking, if you aren't who you say you are, because your actions and your words have to match up. And if they don't, they'll sniff it out. Or at least the good ones will. The ones that are protective of their value will sniff you out. So be somebody that's very sniff-worthy.
Be sniffy.
Be sniff-worthy. Be worthy of investigation, right? If you want to go ahead and be that guy, and take the time. It may take you 10 years to go ahead and be the kind of man who will qualify for the kind of woman you want. If it's worth the price, put in the time and put in the effort to get that which you want. And I'm not here to tell you what you should or shouldn't want. Mm-hmm. But what I'm telling you is know what you want, and if you're willing to pay the price, go and do it. I'm cheering for you.
Really think about that portrait of, later in life, that portrait sitting on your mantle, what you want that to look like. And when you come across somebody or you're like in the process of being interested in someone, imagine how they fit into that photo. Like, is it a family photo? Is it a party photo? Is this person going to fit in that narrative or in that idea you have for your end game?
If you like what you're seeing, by all means, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. We'd love to see wonderful things in your life. If you'd like to see more of us, do those things and hit the notification bell so that you can be notified when we have a new upload.